Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video, what I'd like to do is just talk about last weekend where we had exhibited our products at the Toronto Audiofest. And so this is what you would consider a typical audio show in the heart of Toronto. And so there's two shows that occur in Canada. One is in Montreal and the other one is in Toronto. And so this was our first audio show period in the history of my company. We've been almost 7 years in business. And so what I'd like to do is just give a shout out to all the visitors that came and visited. I want to discuss some of the prep work that went into the prepping for the show for the first time, and also the response that we got as a result of having our products and having an opportunity for people to hear the overall sound quality. So thanks to the individuals that drove. One individual came from London, Ontario, which is a 3-hour drive. So they came to me and told me that they had driven just to hear my speakers. And so just to kind of contextualize that, so it's been a regular request on Facebook and YouTube and that for people, they want to be able to hear the overall sound quality because they see the measurements, they see the product itself and the hardwood and the beauty, and the last kind of question remaining is, does it actually sound good, right? And in particular, I think, you know, the crossover design and the final tuning of the speaker. Obviously, you know, you can buy a good steak, but can you actually cook it? So just the response I got just right off the hop, there was chatter on our Canadian forum called Canuck Audio Mart. And so I just wanted to read a bit here about some of the visitors that commented on the forums and what they thought about our room in terms of the overall sound quality. Joseph Crowe horn speakers with Don Sachs amplifiers. So I should clarify, the amplifiers are designed by Don and Lynn Olson, but we are producing them starting next year under our brand, the Joseph Crowe Custom Audio. So it was by far the best sound at the show and also the best I've heard anywhere. When I opened the door in that room, I was expecting some kind of exotic vinyl setup or reel-to-reel tape because those were the only times I've ever heard sound that real. Nope, just plain old 4416, which is Redbook, on a streamer. WTF, does not compute. I spent over an hour in there throwing everything from opera to metal at them in an attempt to trip them up, and kept returning throughout the day every time I thought of more songs I wanted to try on them. Everything sounded great, even the stuff with questionable recording quality. I haven't experienced a jump in quality this big since the time I went from mediocre solid state to good tube amps on my headphone setup over 20 years ago. And he goes on to say, hearing the Joseph Crowe audio room has forced me to reevaluate many of the things I thought I knew about audio and raised some interesting questions as well. So he's having almost a crisis when he heard the speakers. And that was kind of the general, I wouldn't say general, but there was many people that when they first walked into the room, they stood there, first of all, kind of shocked at what they saw because we had the 2087 speakers in the smallest room at the show, which was only a 13 foot wide by 21 foot long room. And so people were initially apprehensive about even just sitting down because they didn't know if they're going to get their face blown off with sound, because there is kind of that general perception with horn speakers that they're going to be shouty. And that was the term that I heard over and over. They're like, horns are shouty, the horns aren't for me. But when they sat down and they listened consistently, time and time again, the expressions on their face was, oh, this actually sounds good. Like, what the heck? Like, it does not sound like a horn speaker. So just continuing on from some of the other chatter on the forums, the Joseph Crowe room was probably the best presentation I have heard in a show condition. Both the speakers he was showing were terrific. Okay, so we had the big 2087s with the 18-inch three-way, and then we had the 2800 speakers, which we refer to as the small speakers. So those were the two speakers that we were playing. And then we also had just the 1159s as well, which we didn't actually play the speakers, but they were on display. So another comment on the forums, standout for me was the Joseph Crowe room. You could stand right next to the side wall and still get better sound staging than the sweet spot of most other rooms. I was shocked at how well those giant horns disappeared. I probably spent a couple hours in there listening to the big horns and the really big horns. So we got the really big horns and then the big horns. So with it being our first show, we really didn't know what to expect in a lot of aspects. So for example, the room treatment, we didn't think that we'd need to treat the room based on previous experience. You know, our speakers do quite well in a variety of rooms, whether they're untreated, very lively, or heavily damped. It doesn't really matter too much. But nonetheless, just as a precaution, we brought 10 acoustical panels that you can see here that are on our walls. And so when we set the speakers up, we found that we didn't need any kind of room treatment at all. It just sounded really great right off the bat. And so other things like the Wi-Fi and making sure that we didn't run out of or have a down incident with the Wi-Fi. We had our own ability to tether to my phone to get internet on my phone if we had to. And sure enough, we found that the Wi-Fi would drop in the hotel, forcing me to tether my phone to the Wi-Fi router that I had bought. And so yeah, so just kind of few things. We had the TV in the room as well that was able to display the album art, which I think a lot of people appreciated, being able to see the album art and the track name and the artist, and then how much was left mainly just in the track, so that they knew they could just wait a couple more minutes and they get to hear another track. So the first day or two, the Friday and the Saturday, I focused really heavily on curating the music and playing what I thought people wanted and making sure that the room was as quiet as possible. And then if there was somebody that wanted to talk, to go out into the hall. And so we really made sure that it was pin drop quiet. And I found that by Sunday, I wasn't really getting an opportunity to talk to very many people. And so I created a playlist of like maybe 10 songs. And then I actually just hung out in the hallway and chatted with people, which was really nice to be able to actually, you know, get feedback from people and that. And so that was actually really fun for me. Another thing that about the show being really well organized, and thanks to Sarah with organizing the Audiofest, and we didn't realize that there was going to be Audiofest staff there to unload our gear and bring it up to the room, and then when the show was over, is load everything for us on trolleys back down to our utility trailer. So that was incredible and such a relief. I was not looking forward to moving big heavy speakers and components and that, but it just made it a breeze. And the other thing that was really nice is I booked a hotel room to stay the night at the same Westin hotel, Airport Westin, and they put my room right adjacent to our exhibit room. And so it just, the doors would open and I had a space where I could keep my stuff and that. And so it was really nice just being immediately there. So the Toronto Audio Fest did a gala at the Saturday night, and it was incredible. They had a live band, which it looked like most of the live band was actually the staff from the Audio Fest. So they're actually incredibly talented, both like the three vocalists doing 80s throwbacks, and it was just massively entertaining. And they had a dance floor at the front of the stage, and about half the people that were involved in the show got up from the gala dinner and started dancing, and I'm like, what the heck, I'll go up. And so I was up there grooving along with the 80s classics, and I just had an amazing time. It was just completely unexpected. I didn't know, you know, what was going to happen, but it was really fun. So yeah, shout out to Phionics Audio, Joseph, for covering our room. Now he is commissioned by the Audiofest company to cover the rooms and produce media for them, but he also has his own channel, so I'll link to his channel there. And he was nice enough to do a quick little blurb interview and me being able to talk about the speakers and that. And he's a photographer and got some amazing shots of just throughout the show, so definitely check that out. So our room was really, really busy. We had a problem where people couldn't get into the room. They were lined up out the door. And so it was I was waiting to kind of see. I'm like, where's Jay? And he came to me on Sunday and he's like, Troy, I've tried to get into your room 3 times now. He's like, you're the last on the list. I need to get into your room. And I'm like, okay, let's go. So I had to like basically guide him to the front so that he could get some video shots of the setup that we had, so that was just incredible. I did market it in the magazine that you get when you visit the show. I put, visit us, room 345, and kind of catch people's attention to come to our rooms. So I think that might have been a factor as well, that there aren't very many horn speakers at these shows. So there was a number of individuals that had approached me during the show, and they had thanked me for just my overall contribution to the audio hobby, particularly on the DIY side. A number of people had thanked me, for helping them kind of come into the hobby and gain an understanding, because I do share quite a bit of the technical side of speaker design on my channel and on my blog. And so that for me was pretty rewarding personally, to have people thank me. And I don't get that too much. But so for the rest of the video, what I want to do is just kind of high level just describe what we actually had on display there. So the 2800 speakers, we recently changed them to a 4 ohm setup by wiring the woofers in parallel. So full crossover change. So the 2800 speakers are now available in both 16 ohm and 4 ohm. And the other change that we made was the changing out the high frequency super tweeter to ES 800 biradial. And so the speakers operate in dipole, meaning that they actually radiate out the back somewhat. And that's improving the overall sense of spaciousness to the soundstage. We've worked through the summer on customizing our own high frequency compression driver. So it's got our own custom diaphragm and then a new clamping mechanism to hold the diaphragm to the back of the compression driver. And so that's a really special technology that we've developed, where it's spring loaded and it holds the diaphragm in place on little spring loaded fingers. So the ES800 and driver combo is also used on the bigger speaker, so they're the same there. The other change that we made was that the mid-range driver is open back as well, which radiates dipole. So that, again, from 300 hertz all the way up through, this is basically equivalent to like an open baffle, in that you get very open sense of soundstage, which we definitely heard feedback from the visitors and also on the forums, like I mentioned. The 1815 speaker that you see here, we had prepared the speaker for the show, but then last minute we decided against taking it, simply because we didn't have space to bring it. And then we were concerned about the space in the room, and it turned out, just with the amount of people that did come through the room, we were glad that we didn't bring it. But these are finished in their inventory. Another change that we made was on the back, we also have fully opened up the back of the compression driver, and using the same spring-loaded finger technology that allows the dipole radiation on this compression driver as well. The 1159 now has new ceramic woofer and new TechStream dome tweeter. So it's also available to demo in our Prince Edward County location. So we've had a good response from the show. We had a visitor come yesterday and listen to the 1159s, and they were very, very impressed with the overall sound quality, and they cited them as being significantly better than the Harbiths that they currently have. So another big change would be increasing the woofer size on the 2087 speakers from 15-inch to 18-inch. And so it's a tight squeeze, but it works. And the volume of the enclosure, being 285 liters, works out perfectly to provide a flat frequency response right down to 30 hertz. And that's the anechoic response, 98 dB sensitivity. So your in-room sensitivity is going to be much higher than that. but generally the sound was very effortless with the change to the 18-inch. Just, you know, it's barely working. Now, another thing that I thought I would mention too is Don Sachs supported the room. He was there answering questions. So we've commissioned Don and Lynn Olson under license to design our new lineup of preamplifiers and amplifiers. And so that's going to be something that we're going to be producing here under the Joseph Crowe brand under license. So they designed the circuit, and we've designed the chassis work and done kind of a collab with them on coming up with a world-class product. And so we were exhibiting those as part of the system for the show. And so that's the amplifier is a fully balanced 300B 3-stage transformer coupled 27 watts per channel. The preamplifier is also uses the same pre-stage tubes, which is the P29L vacuum tubes, and so that's fully balanced as well with the Cosmo stepped attenuator that's fully balanced. So just trying to create kind of a cost no object preamp and amp solution. And so that's something that I'm going to be featuring more in some upcoming videos, showing and highlighting the design of that. So now another thing, interesting aspect would be that we upgraded the DAC just before the show, and I was planning on using the Dana Fripp's Pontus 2 15th anniversary, which I've had for maybe 6 months, and I considered it a significant upgrade to what I was using before. However, we kind of bit the bullet and upgraded to the Lampizator Genya DAC, which has the it uses the Horizon board from Lampizator, which is a full tube, has tube power supply, and then fully balanced tube output on the DAC. And so it's a pretty highly regarded DAC, and so it also, I think, contributed between Don's latest changes to the amps and preamp and the upgraded DAC. The speakers are sounding better than I've ever heard. And so what that tells me too is that the speakers are certainly not the bottleneck. Every single thing that we've done upstream is sounding just better and better and better. So that's it for today. Take care and have a great day.